It's a country so full of energy and good spirits that there's a fiesta every day of the year. And there's cause to celebrate. From the arid beauty of the deserts in the north to the tropical wonder of the Lacandon rainforests in the south, Mexico has it all. Thousands of miles of white sandy beaches, mysterious ancient temples and pyramids, breathtaking mountains, and a people renowned for their hospitality. Mexico deserves its reputation as one of the most exciting travel destinations in the world. Bordered to the north by the United States and to the south by Central America, most of Mexico is mountainous. Spanish is the official language of Mexico, but many of the Indian cultures still speak their native languages. And even though Mexicans are the product of 4 centuries of European influence, they have not abandoned their Indian past. In fact, the Mexican people are proud of their rich heritage as they continue to carry on customs dating back hundreds of years. More than 22 distinct Indian cultures survive today, from the Huichol in the north to the Maya and Zapotec in the south. Mexico is truly a timeless country, as ancient and modern customs and values come together to weave a complex and fascinating tapestry. The beginning of civilization in Mexico is still a mystery, and even though there are over 11,000 ruins already excavated, new discoveries are constantly changing our information about the past. Nobody really knows what remains hidden in the jungle, or what new discovery may unlock secrets that have eluded archaeologists and historians for generations. It's a giant puzzle that lacks all the necessary pieces to complete the picture of ancient culture and tradition. It's a certainty, though, that we have much to learn from the ancient civilizations of Mexico. It is already understood that their grasp of sophisticated mathematics and astronomy was phenomenal. The Maya calendar, for example, is more accurate than our own, calculated so perfectly that it requires no leap year. The Gulf Coast lowlands were home to Mexico's first urban society, the Olmecs, who sculpted these giant stone figures. It's clear that they were a people of great artistic sensibility. Archaeologists today are puzzled by the broad noses and thick lips of the people portrayed in these monumental sculptures. Some believe it to be evidence of North African influence in the New World long before the Spanish conquest. This early civilization disappeared as the Olmecs were perhaps assimilated into other cultures, like the Maya or the Zapotec. The Aztecs were a powerful and innovative people who founded the ancient city of Tenochtitlan, today known as Mexico City. The Aztecs ruled all of Mexico until 1521. In that fateful year, Hernando Cortez led the conquest of Tenochtitlan in a first wave of European domination that would forever change the New World. Cortez ordered his soldiers to destroy the Aztec city, and today, Mexico's thriving capital is built directly over the remains. In fact, the Zócalo, or town square in Mexico City, is built on the site of the main pyramid of Tenochtitlan. Today, Mexico City is a vast and elegant cultural center. There aren't enough hours in the day to take in its delights. The famous Museum of Anthropology in Chapultepec Park houses one of the most extensive collections of its kind in the world. 23 exhibit halls on 2 floors surround a spacious central courtyard. The countless artifacts in these halls capture the imaginations of thousands of visitors, transporting them into the mysterious worlds of Mexico's vanished cultures. Just outside Mexico City, a beautiful forested mountain road leads to the city of eternal spring, Cuernavaca. Its perfect year-round climate has drawn Mexicans here for centuries. Cortez destroyed the Aztec town in 1521 and built this palace over the ruins of a sacred pyramid. Today, the walls of the palace are adorned by the work of Diego Rivera, one of Mexico's most important muralists and colorful citizens. Rivera's powerful work depicts the history of Mexico from the conquest by Cortez until the Revolution of 1910. His intention was to create a visual textbook for the illiterate, portraying Mexico's past and telling the stories of the heroes and villains of national history. Although he was trained in Europe, he was deeply Mexican in his palette of colors and in his strong identification with the Mexican Indian. His worldview shocked many. He was a revolutionary, an eloquent and impassioned defender of collective justice. Despite his notoriety, the people love his paintings, and today his works are clearly some of Mexico's greatest national treasures. There are riches of another kind in Tasco, a silver mining city in the hills of the state of Guerrero and a reborn center for silver craftsmanship. In 1932, an American named William Spratling revived interest in the old city's silversmith trade, and today, Tasco's silver and copper products can be found all over Mexico. The handwork from Tasco deserves its reputation for being consistently first-rate. This silver mine is the most modern mine in Tasco and still produces high-quality ore. Tasco's most precious jewel is undoubtedly the beautiful Santa Prisca Church, considered a Baroque classic. The church sits amid the narrow, cobbled streets of this quaint and perfect red-tiled village. Financed by the silver mining riches of José de la Borda, the inscription over his porch once read, "God gives to Borda, and Borda gives to God." Tasco is one of Mexico's best preserved colonial towns and seems to exemplify charm as its gateways and balconies spill over with flowers of every kind. The 20th century has had little effect on Tasco, probably because it was literally cut off from the world until the first paved road reached it in 1930. Mexicans share a love of music and dance. Every town has a group that performs traditional dances on the local village square, or wherever they might find an audience. They're often accompanied by live music, and they're always accompanied by plenty of enthusiasm. The oil-rich Yucatan Peninsula extends into the Caribbean on Mexico's southeastern coast and borders on the second largest barrier reef in the world. It boasts many of the finest ancient and modern cities in Mexico. Called by some the heart and soul of the Yucatan, the elegant colonial city of Mérida is the commercial center of the peninsula. It was once thought of as the Paris of Mexico, and even has its own version of the Champs-Élysées, the tree-lined Paseo Montejo. Many of its European-style mansions were built by adventurers from France and Spain. They came to Mérida to seek their fortunes and established vast haciendas for growing cotton, sugarcane, and sisal, which is used for making rope. They were so successful that Mérida once had more millionaires per capita than anywhere else in the world. East from Mérida, across the flat limestone plains, lie the ruins of Chichen Itza. The perfect proportions and design of the awesome pyramid called El Castillo are reminders that these architectural triumphs of ancient times were produced by one of the most outstanding civilizations in the history of mankind. Chichen Itza means literally edge of the well and refers to the fact that the city was built around a huge natural well that supplied enough water to allow Chichen Itza to thrive in this arid land for hundreds of years. The Mayans were attentive to Choc, the rain god, and his likeness is seen everywhere in these altars called Chocmul. Many of Mexico's ceremonial sites include a ball court, and this one at Chichen Itza is the largest. The object of the game was to knock a rubber ball through a large stone ring high up on the wall, using knees, hips, and elbows. The Maya were excellent mathematicians, and in fact, they were far more advanced than their European counterparts. One of their greatest accomplishments was the invention of the zero, a concept that remained unknown to other ancient cultures. They used their skill at mathematics and knowledge of astronomy to accurately predict eclipses of the moon and to chart the movements of Venus, Mars, and Jupiter with only the slight error of 3.5 hours every 500 years. The Maya Empire extended to the Caribbean shore and includes Tulum, a walled city that overlooks the sea. Just north of Tulum is the new coastal resort town called Cancun. With its crystal clear water and exuberant nightlife, Cancun is one of Mexico's most popular resorts. Dazzling beaches stretch as far as the eye can see and contrast perfectly with the emerald blue of the Caribbean. The incredibly fine, pure white sand is so soft that walking on it gives the sensation of stepping in talcum powder. Nearby Cozumel Island has long been a favorite destination for scuba divers and snorkelers, and is also a popular port of call for cruise ships. Cozumel is surrounded by some of the clearest water in the world, with visibility often reaching 200 feet. Famous for its spectacular and diverse forms of coral, the Caribbean waters here also teem with an ever-changing rainbow of tropical fish. It's an ideal place for the novice to come and learn to scuba dive. There are plenty of safe, modern dive boats to choose from, and all are operated by licensed charter agencies. There's even an underwater park here, so that the wonders of the deep will be safe for future generations of divers. Cozumel defines one edge of the Maya Empire, whose golden age occurred in southern Mexico from about 300 to 900 AD, when they built their great ceremonial centers. One of the most successful of these cities was Palenque, which became the dominant center in the region. The setting here is incomparable, and the first glimpse of this mystical place is sure to stir deep and profound feelings. The towering stepped pyramid, finely laid out palace, and great ceremonial center are exquisitely adorned with sculpted stones and covered everywhere with hieroglyphic inscriptions. Imagine these buildings as they once were, decorated entirely with brightly colored paint and roofed with palm thatch. Just outside Palenque, even deeper in the misty Lacandon rainforest, is this ethereal waterfall known as Misolha. Travelers are drawn here to relax in an earthly paradise, enveloped by the beauty of the lush jungle canopy. The deep blue color of the cascading water at Agua Azul is said to be the result of particles of reflected turquoise in the river. Over 500 individual falls converge in a dramatic display. Downstream, beyond the rapids, are tranquil pools that offer a refreshing respite after a day of tropical heat. Just a few steps into the nearby jungle are Indian villages inhabited by people who continue to live a simple lifestyle, barely affected by the outside world. Many of these people are descended from pure Mayan ancestry and speak very little Spanish. The tropical forest that enshrines the Mayan archaeological heritage of Mexico is at risk as the population continues to soar at a record pace. Countless miles of jungle have disappeared forever as they are cleared for cattle grazing. Only 15% of the Lacandon rainforest remains. Awareness of the problem is growing, but solutions seem as far away as the ancient civilizations that once thrived in the jungles. On the southernmost Pacific coast of Mexico is the state of Oaxaca. It's the center of commerce for the 16 Indian cultures that live in the surrounding hills. Here, as nowhere else, history, tradition, and pre-Hispanic culture all blend with the excitement of the contemporary world. Oaxacans are so proud of their capital that they've designated the entire city of Oaxaca a National Historic Monument. No new building is permitted within 5 kilometers of the city center. Each day, the local Indians gather at Oaxaca's shady Central Plaza to display their handicrafts. The plaza is one of the most beautiful in all of Mexico and provides an inviting spot for leisurely relaxation, or perhaps for a shoe shine and a morning cup of coffee. Its colonial charm and street-side cafes are reminiscent of the older sections of a fine European town. A few blocks from the plaza is the Church of Santo Domingo. Its modest exterior gives way to a gilded, highly ornamented interior. At the highest point of the ceiling, hundreds of angel faces converge where God's eye can watch over them and the world. The old convent next door to the church of Santo Domingo has been converted into the Oaxacan Regional Museum. It houses a collection which includes finely wrought Mixtec jewelry and unusual artifacts. These pieces are just part of the treasure that is one of the largest ever found in the Americas. This jewelry and pottery was recovered from the famous Tomb No. 7 at nearby Monte Alban, the greatest capital left by the Zapotec. One of Mexico's most intriguing celebrations is the Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead, when Mexicans revive a tradition as ancient as it is curious. Each year, they believe, the deceased are allowed to visit their loved ones who are still in this life. The festivities begin with a parade for the children. Their costumes include the Bride of Death and all her friends. Each household creates an altar with an offering for their dead relatives and friends. The altars always include flowers and the most delicious foods. Chocolate, the special pan de muerto, or bread of the dead, mangoes, papayas, and even beer and mezcal are there to tantalize. The glowing votive candles and tasty chocolate figurines, sugar skulls, and the characteristic aroma of burning copal incense all contribute to the special feeling that profoundly affects everyone present, and allegedly those absent as well. Day of the Dead celebrations are sure to include music, dancing in the street, and theatrical performances. At night, the festivities culminate when the Zócalo is illuminated by uniquely Mexican firework displays. Giant pinwheels, flaming towers, and waterfalls of fire light the night and send thrills through the crowd. The Dia de Muertos isn't a somber occasion, because the Mexican has a firm belief in the immortality of the soul. This holiday welcomes death as an inevitable and almost humorous part of life. In fact, the Mexican mocks death, calling him Old Boney or the Dandy. On the final day, families pour into the cemeteries, arms filled with flowers, decorations, and offerings. They spend the day there visiting with their deceased relatives who have returned to join in the festivities. Nothing seems to evoke the unique spirit of Mexico quite as well as the handmade crafts created by its artisans. Every Mexican marketplace proudly displays wares rooted in traditions hundreds of years old. Baskets, clothing, pottery, and jewelry are hawked on practically every street corner. It's a bargain hunter's paradise, and haggling is a fine art in Mexico. For high-quality products, it's better to go to a special center known for its finer crafts. The most famous center for Mexico's superlative rugs and blankets, called serapes, is Teotitlan del Valle. Most of the weavers in this rustic mountain village still spin their own yarn using old-fashioned spinning wheels and a lot of elbow grease. The weavers produce a wide variety of designs that range from traditional Mixtec and Zapotec patterns to the modern paintings of Picasso, Escher, and Miro. Their rugs are widely distributed, but many people enjoy a trip to the weavers' homes and workshops to select an original work of art. Also near Oaxaca City is the town of San Bartolo Coyotepec, home of the Rosa family. Doña Rosa invented the process for making the famous black pottery of Oaxaca. Her son is proud to pass on his mother's secret and carry on the family tradition.
My mother, Donna Rosa, invented this brilliant sheen for this black pottery and is very famous for it. It transforms the gray to this shiny black. Now, everyone in the village is using this process. Black pottery is not completely black clay. It transforms in the fire with the high temperature. You make it brilliant with a rock. It's a quartz rock. Then it goes to the oven to bring out the shine.
There's no better place on earth for fresh seafood than the coastal towns of Mexico. Many local economies are dependent on their fishing industry for survival, and the local chefs take full advantage of the freshest fish imaginable. One of the Pacific's most beautiful fishing villages is also known to an elite group as the surfing capital of Mexico. At Puerto Escondido, the choices are to hang out or to hang 10. This village tumbles down craggy cliffs to a fabulous stretch of beach that hosts international surfing championships at one end, yet has a still and serene bay at the other. This newly discovered tropical resort is fast becoming the #1 choice for travelers who want a slower-paced escape. Across the Sea of Cortez from the mainland is Baja, California. A narrow ribbon of highway connects the rugged desert that extends 800 miles from the California border to Cabo San Lucas. This road follows the original path of the Jesuit missionaries who came to Baja and built a series of missions, each a day's walk apart. Most of Baja California can only be explored by four-wheel drive or on horseback, so for many, the preferred highway is the ocean. Sailors have been known to cruise Baja's coastline for months at a time, dropping anchor and exploring some of the most spectacular and sublime natural harbors in the world. Warm waters, isolated beaches, and infinite recreational possibilities combine to make Baja a nature lover's favorite paradise. The endearing pelicans of Baja's coastline soar and dive along almost any beach. These lucky survivors have made an impressive comeback from virtual extinction just a few years ago. Their population is continuing to grow, and so they exist as an airborne testament to optimism. They're a delight to watch with their comic solemnity and impressive in-flight maneuvers. For years, the world's sport fishermen have anticipated the joy of an excursion to the magnificent Baja Peninsula. A day of fishing here can yield spectacular results. Albacore, yellowtail, barracuda, dorado, bonito, and the king of sport fish, marlin. Just south of the Tropic of Cancer, at the beginning of the 950-mile stretch of coast known as Mexico's Riviera, is Mazatlan. Here, pleasure is reduced to the essentials, made easy by the perfect beaches, friendly natives, and carefree way of life. Each one of Mexico's coastal resort towns has its own unique flavor, but they all retain the romantic impulses of old Mexico. Puerto Vallarta is an appealing labyrinth of cobblestone streets, blazing whitewashed buildings, and red tile roofs. At the southern end of Mexico's Riviera is Acapulco. There's nothing else like it in Mexico. It's easy to see what brings people here. It's the nighttime action, the daytime excitement, and the sun. This world-class resort continues to set the standards that the rest of Mexico's beach resorts strive to match. A beautiful bay lined with luxury hotels, designer shops, and a cosmopolitan jet-set atmosphere have kept it the queen of the Pacific Coast resorts. Mexico's coastal resorts are certainly one of its finest natural resources, and the tourist industry is Mexico's second most important national product. But as the population grows and tourists and their dollars continue to flood in, many ask the question, what about the future? Mexico stands at a crossroads where the traditional and the modern haven't yet made their peace with each other. But the Mexicans are an optimistic people. They look forward to the days ahead and have confidence that solutions are coming. In the meantime, there's always something to celebrate as a new day dawns over a country filled with natural wonders, ringed by more than 6,000 miles of coastline, and held together by a past rich in tradition and history. Que viva Mexico!